Okay.
So yeah,
You
take some time
you
to get him in a good
wanna
area.
you wanna explain the offer for everyone on the call?
So yeah, basically, if anyone's ever heard of like, it's a dating offer. If anyone's ever heard of like cold approach, like improving your social skills and going up to strangers and talking to them, it's basically that. It's like a boot camp for basically going up and talking to girls on the street. Sounds kind of crazy, I know, but it's a thing. Believe it.
All right, let's take a listen.
Oh, you okay, man? I'm very good, dude. How's it?
Understand. From Chile.
It's so yeah, I think the Wi-Fi is kind of like I'm struggling. You were saying something. Well, what would you say it's?
Uh, it's good now? It's good?
Yeah, I think
In
it's
the
better.
car.
I think it's yeah,
Yeah,
nice, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically like I asked you, like what your biggest struggle, with when it comes to your approaching is for you right now.
Um, well, the most hard thing, it's the first move. It's really difficult to me
Mm,
to go with a stranger um, and start talking without a reason.
mhm.
Like,
Okay,
I don't know.
okay. Well, have you tried approaching before?
Mm, yes, but it was uh, oh, I don't know. I'm gonna use the translate.
It's
Sorry.
okay, man. No worries. It's okay.
Um,
Yeah, there was a bit of communication issues. You have to keep using Google Translate.
Oh yeah, that's tough. That's
Mm,
tough.
yeah.
Okay, we'll see how you handle it.
they were people I already knew for. So
Okay.
it's like people that I talk like one time or it's not like a cold approach, but so
Hmm.
I never talk to a girl in the street, for
Hmm.
example, or gym or uh,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. Well, it's something that you've been wanting to do, right? So, and you mentioned to me that you find it's difficult to make the first move. It's difficult to go and talk to a stranger without a reason. Do you feel like there's any reason why that is difficult for you? Like, what's hard about that for you?
I don't know. So in the past, I always been be a shy person,
Mm,
and now I've been working a lot of for my confidence and
yeah.
for time with strangers and when I have to buy something and start a little conversation and stuff like that.
Nice.
And yes, it's really better than like 2 or 3 years ago. But when I have to approach something, someone who likes me, that is the biggest problem. That is the real problem because I really get nervous and
Yeah.
I don't I don't I don't want to talk. In a group it's a little easier, but one to one is so difficult to me. I don't know why.
That's interesting. So you're saying you find it easier to talk to groups of people, like, oh, you're saying it's because you know them, like, what do you think is that you find it easier to talk to groups or?
Um, I, I give you an example. I'm in the church right now, and
Okay.
it's a religion. So there are many or activities, and I don't know,
Hmm.
young people hanging out.
So with an offer like this, I would get straight to the last time this happened and then the details of what happened. Because if we're talking about just like
Mhm.
if we're generalizing, it becomes very hard to get specific because we're just like, oh yeah, usually
Yeah.
this is what happens, or all the time this is what happens, right?
Mm.
So tip like with an offer like this, I'm just gonna straight up just be like, cool, when's the last time you attempted to cold approach? When's the last time you attempted to
Yeah.
start up a conversation with someone?
I was
Okay,
going down that
what
route.
happened?
Yeah. I was going down that route, but he kind of diverted off. I should have maybe got the conversation back on track.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he's about to kind of give an example of a story, but like immediately when you said like, what's the problem? He said the first move was difficult. I'm always shy. I get nervous. I would have been like, okay,
Hmm.
well, tell me about the last time that X happened. Okay,
Okay.
how did you feel in the moment? How did it feel bring up to that moment to the moment? Why did you want to go up to that person? Okay, what
Okay.
about the time before that? When was the time before that? Okay, how often does this happen?
Okay.
How long has this been going on for? How long have you felt this way? You said it was way worse before. What did you mean by that? Because he
Mm.
said it was way worse way before, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Okay.
Just get him to give you a full pic, because our goal right here is to what? It's to get a full picture of what the problem is,
Hmm.
like what's actually going on. We want to almost be able to put ourselves in their shoes to understand what they're going through. And in
Yeah.
order to do that, I need to kind of just have him paint a picture for me,
So you would be
right?
that
It's
direct? You would be that direct and just kind of ask when was the last time you approached and what happened? Like,
exactly, yeah.
okay.
Because then we're just talking about theoretical stuff, right?
Okay.
It's like if someone says I'm struggling with my marketing, or or if someone says my leads suck,
Mm.
right? Okay, I want to know exactly how many leads you get. When you say suck, what does that actually mean? Like, are they just not convert? Because I don't know if the leads aren't converting because you aren't good at sales. The leads aren't converting because they're not the right leads. The leads aren't
Mm.
converting because, you know what I mean? There's so many actual things within that, and I can't pitch a solution or actually help you until I have a real understanding of what is actually happening in that moment. So, for a B2B offer, I'm going to be like, okay, cool. How do you get leads? How many leads do you get? Out of those leads, how many, like, what's the sales process that you take them through? Okay, how many of those convert from that process, right? And
Mm.
what do you do with the ones that don't convert, right? Okay, now
Okay.
I have an understanding, like, so you take sales calls with them. How much time are you spending on sales calls with people that aren't converting? Now I'm understanding the time waste, the cost, like, you know what I mean? I need to
Hmm.
understand what is going on here.
Yeah.
So I want him to paint me the picture. Let's keep listening.
Okay.
Out, and I know a lot of people there, but these people have another friends,
Okay.
and I can talk with these friends
Yeah.
that I don't know. It's easy, and girls with the same.
Mm.
But when I have to approach a girl, that is so difficult. I never approached a girl before. Um, yes.
I mean,
Uh,
it's normal. Yeah. Like, it's understandable that you're nervous. Like, when was the last time you tried to approach a girl?
There we go.
hmm, I don't know. Every time I wanna approach a girl, I don't approach the girl. I always look like I wanna do it, but I just don't move. So
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I get that. It's a normal thing, especially when starting out. Like, when was the last time that sort of thing happened for you, like where you saw a girl and you wanted to approach but you couldn't? When was the last time that happened?
like something like an approach.
Yeah, like you wanted to go and talk to a girl, but you couldn't. You just couldn't do it. Like,
So this is a good question, but the issue that you're running into here is you're not really, you sort of are, but you're not really using his language, right? So in order for someone to understand your question, that's why it's so much better to use their words, because their words are how they understand it. But if you're rephrasing it using your own words, it might not come across the same. So for example, he said, and it's very slight in this example, but he said, I don't know. Every time I want to approach a girl, I don't approach a girl. I always look like I want to, but I just don't move. And then you said, when was the last time that sort of thing happened where you saw a girl and wanted to approach, but you couldn't? You just kind of like paraphrased what he said. And especially for someone that, English is not their first language, obviously it leads even more to the confusion. So instead, I would have used the exact way he said it. And I would have said, okay, well, when was the last time that you wanted to approach a girl, you didn't approach her and just looked but didn't move? Like, I
okay.
would literally say it right back because that's how he said it to me, meaning he's going to understand my question
Hmm.
a lot deeper than me paraphrasing it in the way I understand what he was saying. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Something that helps when you're noting down things, right? Because it's sometimes very difficult to get things exact, like as the way they say it. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely something that I need
and
to
that's
work on.
why, like, I take the notes specific. Like, I wrote here, I look but don't. Right? It's like I want to put
Okay.
it down in the way they say it. So that way, when I'm asking a question, I'm gonna be like, so when's the last time you looked but
Mm.
didn't approach them? Right? I'm gonna say
Yeah.
it exactly how they say it. And then this is even a lesson for the pitch, because when I'm pitching how we can help, I'm going to pitch my solution in a way that uses their language. So for
Yeah.
example, when I ask the question later in the call, what kind of support are you looking for? let's say I sell one-to-one coaching and they're saying, I want, someone that's going to be there to support me every step of the way,
Mm-hmm.
someone that I can, ask questions to when I need it. Instead of saying, hey, we'll give you one-to-one coaching, I'm going to say, hey, we're going to be there to support. Like I'm going to use the same language, even though it's the same thing, I'm going to use how they see it, because
Yeah.
people, that's how people interpret words differently, and people ascribe different value to words that we might ascribe a separate value from them, right? It's like, I think I've done this with you on a call before, but it's like when I ask people, what if is better, great or awesome, right? I always say that if I have a glass of water and I say this water is awesome, or I say this water is great, which water is better? Some people would say the great water is better. Some people would say the awesome water is better, right? So you don't, but it's all subjective. Like there's not really an object, maybe there is, but from what I understand, there's not really an objective thing that's better between those two words. So if someone says, I'm looking for a great mentor, and I say, don't worry, I'll get you an awesome mentor, you don't know if you just told them that you're going to give them something that's worse or better than what they wanted. So it's much better to skip the guesswork and just use their words. Because then that's when you get people to respond and say, when you say, hey, do you feel like this is what you need in order to get XYZ result? They're like, oh, yeah, Hayden, this is exactly what I need. 100%. Because you asked them what they needed, and then you presented what you did in a way that used their language. So it's a lesson to use throughout the entirety of the call, whether we're trying to understand the problem at a deeper level and pitch the solution. Let's keep this.
Okay.
I give you an example. I'm in the church right now, and it's a religion.
Like it's understandable that you're
something like an approach.
Yeah, like you wanted to go and talk to a girl. Is that something that happens a lot for you?
I use it translate. So
It's okay.
yeah, I use it. It's a very normal conversation. And in one of these activities, I see her and I just go and start talking with she.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's approach or not, because I already knew this person.
Yeah, I mean, if you knew her, it's not. It's still good that you're still going out and like taking action and talking. Still, you should be proud. Well, when you see these girls and you have this thing that you want to approach, but you can't, like, how does that sort of make you feel? Like,
yeah, and this is where we're just moving on now, right? Instead of getting what we wanted to get earlier.
Yeah.
So it happens a lot in sales where people don't answer the question we asked. All that means is we have to ask it again in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a lot of salespeople struggle with this, is where they ask the question, if they don't get the answer, they kind of just like keep moving on through the process. It's okay to ask the same question 2 or 3 times until you get the answer. It's totally okay to do that. So like if he didn't tell you about the last time, don't just move on, because he needs to drum up, like before we say how do you feel about that, we need to drum up the thoughts of it first. Because he's not, when we say how do you feel about this thing that you haven't thought of yet, he's saying how he feels arbitrarily. He's not actually thinking of a time and then telling us how he feels about that last time. Right? Which is just not going to hit the same. It's not going to be as deep, and it's not going to be as targeted at what the actual problem is. So if there's one thing I would change so far, is
just don't
with
move
your
on.
Offer, don't move on. But with your offer, it's really going to be simple to just be like, tell me about the last time that this happened. Okay, what specifically happened? So and then get them to walk you through, like, so you were out with friends, you saw someone, you thought at what to yourself, and then boom, what happened? What held you back? Was it thoughts of, oh, I'm gonna get rejected? Was it like, you know what I mean? Get them to actually tell you how they felt in the moment, what they thought in the moment, what happened, what held them back. If they did do it, then maybe get them to tell you about another time. And then you can move on to duration/frequency that we talk about. It's like, okay, so how often does this happen? How often do you see someone and have these thoughts that are holding you back? And again, what that question is going to be worded using their words. If they said, I felt anxious about doing it, I'm going to say, how often do you feel anxious about this? Right. And then, we can move on to cost, effects, all of these things. and then we can move into goals once we have that, or we can go into is it time to change this, right?
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds good. It definitely helps. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's like this is my third sales call, and it's funny. Like, if this guy had money and he was a bit more like, I'm not trying to blame like him being qualified, because I know obviously, but like if he was a bit more qualified, he would have like closed for the higher ticket offer. I think I still closed him, but for a lower ticket offer in the end.
Yeah. Good job, man.
Yeah.
Solid.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing good so far. Just these little things that'll make you that much better. For your third sales call, dude, you're doing good.
Thank you.
Just little things.
Keep pushing.
Yeah, it's like it's about going from good to great.
Yeah, thank you, man.
No problem. Gustavo, let's listen to yours, man, for a bit, and then we can jump into a little bit of role play. You said you wanted to just talk about like tonality with this one, right, Gustavo?
Yeah, tonality.
So you can definitely talk to that. Hold on.
What frame?
What framework are you using?
I've got my frame in front of me. Okay, on my end, my framework I've got the build rapport by the frame. Your reason from time using one-on-one.
Lens switches?
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Go ahead.
Yeah,
When
go
does
ahead.
when does it start?
It's closer. I'm not really certain, but you're not too far.
Right here.
Well, tell me what motivated you to book this call today?
Nothing, just the fact that like I want to make a bunch of money.
You just want to make a range?
No, I just want to lose some weight and like build some muscle.
All right, perfect. And what have you tried? How's it going so far?
Yeah, it's going fine now.
Okay. Tell me where you are currently in terms of your whole fitness journey. Where are you right now?
Yeah, like in terms of like what is like,
The fitness, your progression.
Mm.
Are you closer to your goal? How far do you think you are from your goal?
All right. Feedback?
Is it?
I just when you started the call, I could see that you were like being excited, and I could see that it was fake from a perspective.
So far, the reason why it feels like an interview is because you're jumping, right? You're asking a lot of questions that would kick off kind of different avenues to probe instead of probing into the last thing that he just said, right? So if we look here, you said what motivated you to book the call. Then you said, what have you tried? Then you said, where are you at in terms of your fitness? And then how far are you from the goal? Each of those questions, like there should be a good amount of dialogue in between to get the actual answer. So if you're gonna, like, if I'm asking like problem question, then a solution question, then a goals question, it's always gonna feel like I'm just taking them through a list of questions and interviewing them instead of it actually being a sales conversation. Because if you notice here, what motivated you to book the call? Nothing, just the fact that I want to make a bunch of money. Like this, he didn't answer the question, right? And he said, did he mess up in terms of like what the call is about? Like, is this a fitness offer or is this a?
I think it
what
got
are you guys
mixed
role
up a
playing?
bit. He got a bit confused.
Did he
You
get
might
mixed
have
up?
to. Yeah, it did.
He got confused or you got confused?
I think he got confused with my frame, with my offer. I think you might
Okay.
just have to scroll slightly down.
Did you guys restart the call from the beginning or?
Yes, we did. I commenced with my frame. I mentioned something along the lines of, this is how we'll go. I'll ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay, so it looks like right here.
Where was I? I asked you, okay, let me ask that first question. So Simab, tell me, where are you currently in your fitness journey? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I'm like at 200 pounds right now. I want to get like around 160, and I want to get that like shredded vegetable physique.
All right. Okay, and tell me, what have you actually tried in order to achieve this?
I have like I haven't like really tried anything. I'll be honest with you.
You say really?
I haven't like really tried anything.
You haven't tried anything. All right. Tell me. So when did you actually get interest in the?
You see how like your question has no connection to the last answer he just gave you. Like the guy just, and I wouldn't start the call this way, but let's assume we did. Cool, we did. We asked, what are you trying to do currently? I'm trying to go from 200 pounds to 160. What have you tried? I haven't tried anything. So instead of saying, okay, well, tell me what got you interested in fitness, why are we asking about what the heck you just said? That's a huge red flag. I want this, but I've done nothing to get it. A normal conversation would be like, well, dude, what's going on? What happened? Why haven't you tried anything? So, like, why are we bouncing from question to question like that? Where it's like anyone would feel like this is a questionnaire because your questions just have no context. You know what I mean? It's like filling out an answer sheet. Answer sheets don't ask follow-up questions. They just ask questions that are usually disconnected, right?
True.
Conversations are connected. They flow. They go from thing to thing, but it has to make sense, right?
I think the problem I was having here was the fact that he wasn't really being open with me. He was very close-ended, so I didn't really know how to.
How could he be more open? You said, tell me, where are you at in your fitness journey? He said, I'm 200 pounds. I want to get to 160 and I want to get shredded. He answered exactly what you asked him. Right? But then you changed the question of what do you want? And you went to, what have you tried? And then he said, I haven't tried anything. I mean, he answered the question. What is he supposed to say if he hasn't tried anything? What else would he say there?
Yeah, you have a point.
So, I mean, it has nothing to do with him being closed off. It has everything to do with the quality of questions you're asking.
And the sequence as well.
It has everything to do with the quality of questions you're asking. The conversation is being steered by the person who asked the questions.
100%.
And if someone's closed off in their answering, then you just ask them another question that gets them to reveal more. Right? You're in control. Whoever is asking the questions is in control. Right? So, yeah, dude, I would kick off the call with, I mean, if you want to say, where are you at in your fitness journey? Sure. But then I want to immediately jump into a problem question. I want to say, cool, what is your biggest challenge right now when it comes down to going from 200 pounds to 160 shredded? What's the biggest challenge you're running into? Well, I don't know what to eat. I don't know what exercises to do. I don't know how to do it or whatever. Like he's got to give me a stated problem to probe into. So my first goal is I need to get a stated problem. I need them to say, I need help with X. Now I can say, cool, tell me about that. Or what do you mean by this? Or when you say this, tell me about a time. Or then I can probe in to get a full understanding of what that problem is. Then the duration/frequency of that problem. Then the effects of that problem. Right? Then if I want to, I can go into solutions or goals before solutions. You can do it either before or after, depending on, how focused they are on the pain, like the problem or the goal. Right? But yeah, dude, I would kick this off by probing into getting a problem and probing into it. Okay?
100%.
Cool. So let's do some role play. Jassy, I know you're role playing as an appointment setter.
Mhm.
For you, what are you struggling with right now when it comes to getting the problem?
Getting clarity on the full picture of the problem before I move on.
Okay. I mean, as an appointment setter, you don't necessarily need to get too much details,
Mhm.
right? What aspect of getting that clarity do you feel like you're struggling with?
Like the last call we reviewed on Friday, basically
Mhm.
when I just got what had him looking into getting into Airbnb, right? He just wanted to make more money because because of COVID, his car sales went down. And then from there just went into like what kind of toll has that had on you, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like, yeah, if I got more information before I moved on to that question, the pain would have stuck a lot more, and then it would have been like a better set.
Yeah, possibly. I would say honestly, what I would like to see you try for your offer in particular is getting them more excited about the goal than digging super deep into the pain because you're not closing them on that call.
Yeah,
And really, all you need to do is get enough excitement and interest in order for them to get on that closing call. And if the closer is going to go super deep into their problem and to why they're there, you shouldn't have you shouldn't do that because then it's just going to be a lot of repeat for them.
yeah.
So I would love to see how you flesh out the goal with them.
Okay. I feel like for the goal, like I get a pretty decent amount for that,
Mhm.
but I could still role play it and then go based off of that.
Well, let's have you role play a bit of the problem just so we'll have you go through it once and see what we can see, and then we can go from there. Yours is a real estate offer. Giselle, are you down to be the prospect for Jesse here?
Yes.
Cool. Well, whenever you're ready, Jesse. Well, let's
What's the offer again?
yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, so it's a biz op offer. Basically, we coach people how to start an Airbnb business. So people
Okay.
are normally coming into this because they're either not making enough money from the job they're working now, or they just don't like what they're doing and they want to make a switch.
Okay.
All right.
And the context, to tell her what the context of the lead as well, because we're pretending that you dialed her. She opted in for like a training. Is it a VSL?
Yeah, it's a VSL.
So VSL means gave name, phone number, email to access a free video training. Some people book, some people don't. Jassy, you're calling people that didn't book. And go ahead.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just gonna start from the first question that goes into the pain. Yeah, so Giselle, what is it about Airbnb that caught your attention in the first place?
Well, it sounds like something that could generate a lot of money.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, people say it's a good business to start, so I'm just curious.
Okay. Well, gotcha. Well, I guess then, what is it that you do for work right now?
I'm a stay-at-home mom right now.
Okay, gotcha. So,
Pause there.
Mhm.
So the question that you kicked off with, what interested you in Airbnb? Is that the one you usually start with?
So I start off with that just to get a little bit of what they're looking for and go into the business model, and then I just use that to kind of pick up.
I would prefer you to test out the question tailored at the thing they opted in for. So instead of what interested you in Airbnb, it's what interested you in XYZ training, right?
Yeah, so the ad doesn't have a specific training. It's just reach out or put in information to get some more trainings on Airbnb co-listing.
So when they opt in, they don't get sent to a training video?
No, they just get the information put in and we give them a call.
Oh, so it's not a VSL. So what? The ad is just what's the ad? What is it saying they get?
Yeah, so the ad is basically just it's a brief overview of the business, and then it just says if you want some trainings on this, put in your information.
Okay, so this is what it's like to be an Airbnb co-lister.
Yeah.
If you're interested in becoming a co-lister, put in your info.
Yeah.
And we'll give you some training.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, I guess then what interested you in Airbnb co-listing? Yeah. Take that off like that. All right, continue.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious. What does you do for work right now?
I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Stay-at-home mom. Okay. So I guess then for you, you said you want to bring in some more money. What is that feeling like you do need to bring in some more?
Wait, can you say that again?
Yeah, I guess what is it that has you feeling like you need to bring in some more money?
Well, we have 2 kids and my husband works all the time and he works 6 days a week. So I think if I could bring a little bit of money in, hopefully he could stay home more often. We could see him more.
Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. So how long has it been since you kind of felt your husband's working was it 6 days a week, you guys start bringing in enough, and you might need to do something to start chipping in a little bit now.
How long has it
She
been?
didn't say that. Don't use words that she didn't give you, because you might trigger someone, or like you might offend them or something. Like, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, she didn't say not making enough. She didn't say that she needed to chip in.
Mhm.
For some people, you might trigger like ego, or you might like, you know what I mean? You don't want to use any words that they didn't give. Use the if you want to know more or how long, use the exact words that she said. So what did she say exactly?
That her husband works 6 days a week, um, and she wants to start working to bring in more money.
For so that he can stay home more, right? That's what you said, Giselle?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're gonna say like how long have you whatever, I would have said like how long have you felt like you wanted to bring in more money so that your husband could stay home? Like use her words, because then there's nothing for her to be like, well, no, I don't mean that, or you know what I mean? Like you don't want any of that, because then you're already kind of turning them off a bit. No one likes someone that just like assumes negative things about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't say we weren't making enough money. I just want to see my husband more. He works a lot, you know,
Yeah.
and then click, hang up. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so those, it's very, very small, it seems like, but it makes a massive difference, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
especially because you have a very like dry way of delivery too.
Yeah.
You're very like a little monotone with it. So some people could get offended, you know?
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Cool. So ask the question again.
Okay. Yeah. So how long has it been since you felt like you want to start bringing in a little bit more money so that way your husband can stay home a little bit more, not work as much?
Well, it's been like a year since we had our last kid. That's when I started feeling it.
Yeah. Okay. So was it like you guys having your most recent kid that sparked that for you?
Yeah.
Stop. I don't want to ask assumptive questions that elicit a yes no response, because they don't allow the person to actually think about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I want to say, what was it in the last year since having your last kid that sparked that idea or that interest, or made you want to do X? And then I want her to actually sit back and think. And if it is having the kid, I want her to tell me that, because the best case scenario, she just says yes, and then there's no an emotional attachment to it.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario, she goes, no, it wasn't that. And now it's like this guy's assuming again.
Okay.
And every single assumption that's wrong kills 1% of trust. That's a random number I made up. Don't quote me on that. But it kills a little bit of trust. And when these things stack, oh, he said we don't make enough money. Oh, now he's assuming I want to do it because of my kids. Now these things stack. All of a sudden they go along with the call, then they no show, or they just say, oh, I don't want to, or you know what I mean? Or they
Yeah.
think about it after, and all they remember is this guy making a whole bunch of assumptions about me, and then they don't want to show up now. You know what I mean? Or they
Okay.
don't close or whatever. So run it again.
Okay. So, yeah, what happened in the last year once you had your last kid that made you feel like you want your husband to start spending a little bit more time at home now?
Well, our kid got sick, and we needed to make more money, so that's when my husband started working more. So he was born with like a heart condition, and he went from working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, to working 6 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day for the past year. So that's what happened.
Oh, wow. Okay. So just, having that happen to you guys, and now your husband having to work 6 days a week for the past year, what's that kind of doing to you guys?
How is
Well,
it?
it's
Good question. Way too vague. So I would say, when did your get sick, causing your husband to have to work 6 days a week? It was last July. Okay. Since July, how has your husband working 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours every single day, impacted you as a stay-at-home mom having to do that since July? Very specific question. That will, because again, the quality of questions you ask are directly injecting what they're going to think about. So instead of just being like, so how's that been? Like, there's so many ways to go about that. How's that been? Oh, I mean, it's been good. We've made some more money because he's working more. Oh, like, you know what I mean? There's so many avenues to go with that. But I want to, but the answer you want is specifically, how has that impacted her as a stay-at-home mom since then? Because that's the reason why she's here. So you got to get very specific with what you want to learn about, right?
Okay.
The quality of questions affect the quality of answers,
Mhm.
right? Ask vague questions, get vague answers. Ask specific questions, get specific answers.
Yeah,
Continue.
that makes sense. Okay. So, yeah, so how long ago was it when your husband started working 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day?
That was a year ago.
A year ago. Okay, wow. So, for a year now, so how has that impacted you? Like, for a year now, you're stay-at-home mom, your husband's working 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day. Like, how has that affected you personally?
Well, it feels like I'm a single mom.
Mhm.
It's really hard.
Gotcha. Well, have you tried anything in this past year to try and bring in some extra income for the family?
I tried like some selling some makeup stuff. One of my friends was telling me about that, but I didn't sell anything.
Okay. And did you try anything else besides that?
No, that's
Okay, I gotcha. Well, I guess I'm curious for you, like when it comes to Airbnb, what is your goal with this? Like what are you trying to achieve here?
Well, I'm trying to achieve just like making some extra income, like a couple $1,000s
I
a
would
month.
would pause there for a sec.
Mhm.
Instead of going straight into the question of, what's the goal with Airbnb, one thing I would try, just split test to see how it goes, is
Mhm.
right before going in, I would say, I would want to know like why Airbnb, okay? I'd say, what about Airbnb as a vehicle to whatever sparked your interest, right?
Okay.
And then I want them to, you kind of ask that at the beginning, but asking it here just to see if they give you a deeper answer, and then say, okay, cool. What is your goal with that, right? And then not even what is your goal? It's like, what would you like to see happen in X time frame, or you can even just start off and say, what would you like to see happen with Airbnb, and then you want to put a time frame to it at some point. But yeah, pick up from the goals there.
Okay, gotcha. So, okay, yeah, so, what is it about Airbnb that has you feeling like this is something that can bring in that extra money you guys are looking for?
Well, like on the person I've been following, they say that you don't need a lot of time to do it, to make a couple $1,000s. So that's very attractive. Like if I could work 5 hours a week and make $2,000, that sounds pretty good to me.
Okay. And yeah, so like $2,000 a month, like is that the goal you're trying to hit, or what are you trying to achieve here with Airbnb?
Assumptive question.
Okay.
Again, we
Yeah.
don't want assumptive questions, right?
Yeah.
So how much are you, or what is the goal with Airbnb? Or if you want to ask the financial question, how much income are you how much additional income are you looking to bring in with Airbnb?
Yeah.
Right? No assumptive questions. Go ahead.
Okay.
Let me let the dog out real quick.
Okay.
While she's doing that, any questions on anything we've gone over so far?
Yes. So I guess for that, like she already gave you the problem, right? She wants to spend more time. So when you ask the income goal, and let's say she says she wants to make an extra 5,000 a month, right? Would you still ask what would an extra 5,000 a month allow you to do? Just because you're
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justin. Do you want to go?
Okay, or would I just be like, besides having more time back with your husband, what else would 5,000 a month allow you to do?
You could say that. But I mean, either is fine.
Okay.
Either is fine. Right. And then that's the one time where maybe you could ask a yes, no question, because she gave you something where you could say, if she said, what's the goal? She said 5,000. Maybe then you could say, would $5,000 a month allow you to get time back? I would
Mhm.
prefer the other ones, but that's also like you could ask that,
Yeah.
but I would prefer you to just say, okay, what, and it depends on what she says when you say, what is it you want to achieve with Airbnb? Because she might say something lifestyle wise, or she might say something financial. Whenever you ask someone a goal question, they usually answer one of those two buckets, lifestyle or financial. Obviously, if the offer is a financial offer, they say, oh, I want to be able to make 5K a month, 10K a month, or they say, I want to be able to travel, or I want to be able to this, or I want to do that, right? And then you're always going to get the other side of whatever they answered with. So if they answer with lifestyle, I'm
Yeah.
going to say, you know, tell me about that. And I'm going to say, what would you need to earn in order to do that comfortably? So I'm still going to get the financial. If they say financial, then I'm going to say, why that number? What does earning that number change for you? And I'm going to get the lifestyle. So you always want both,
Mhm.
right? The finances and what the financial and the lifestyle behind the finances actually does for them. For you as an appointment setter, though,
Yeah.
don't necessarily need to go super deep with this stuff, right? But I would still at least get that. And there's other questions and goals that I would ask as a closer, but I would just probably get those two things and then get the timeline and then be like, are you looking to get help with this kind of thing? But yeah, go ahead.
I think Hayden had a question.
Hayden, what's up?
Yeah, so I feel like I kind of answered my own question. Because you're gonna go into like the monetary goal first, right? Because obviously it's like Airbnb and everything, but the main driving factor behind her is obviously wanting to spend more time with her husband and have them at home. So would you go into monetary goals like, what is it you're wanting to make, and then you could kind of go down the route of, when you have this $5,000 a month and you're able to spend more time with your husband, like what would that do for you as a family? But I feel like that's
Yeah,
too deep.
that's something. No, that's something I would ask
Mm,
later, you know? So like I'm not necessarily gonna go into the financial first. I'm gonna let them decide because at the end of the day, you've got people, again, it's all about, some people see that if you were to just strictly ask about the money, some people are like, oh, this person cares about his money, they're so focused on money. Some people will be like, they just get turned off by that. And then some
mm,
people, they do want to just talk about the money. That's what they're going to bring up first. So I'm going to let them bring up what they care about more first. So I'm going to leave it more open ended
okay.
first. It's just like when we say, what is the biggest challenge you're facing with this, right? Instead of me saying, are you struggling with this or this with Airbnb? You know what I mean? I'm going to
Mm,
leave it open ended and let them tell me what they care about. So if I say, okay, so what would you love to see happen? What is the biggest goal you have with Airbnb co-listing? And they're going to say lifestyle or they're going to say monetary. And that's going to determine which one I go into. And if they say, man, I just want to be able to make 10K a month, have multiple Airbnb properties, and go from there. I'm going to say, well, you mean came up with that number pretty quick. Why that number in particular?
mm,
Well, for this reason or that reason, or, oh, it just sounds like a good number or whatever. Right. I'm going to say, okay, let's say you achieve 10K a month with Airbnb, what does that actually do for you?
mm,
It does this, it does that, it does that. Okay. Okay. And, you achieve 10K a month, you're doing this, you're doing all those things. What's next? What comes after that?
yeah.
Oh, I haven't thought that far. Or, well, then I'm going to invest in an orphanage or whatever,
Mhm.
And then maybe I'll ask some timeline questions. So what's timeline have you put? Like what timeline do you have for this? Like that you want to achieve that in? Some people, oh, as soon as possible. Yeah, realistically, provided you got the support you needed, what is a timeline that you would be super stoked and ecstatic that you know, got help or that you started this with? Oh, this timeline.
Okay.
And maybe I'll say, what would you love to see happen? Then I would say, why that timeline?
Mm,
And that gives me the response later. If I'm going to do consequence, I'm going to say like, what happens if that timeline or deadline is missed, whatever. But I'm going to say why that timeline. This is more like going this far is more closer stuff, Jassy. I wouldn't necessarily
yeah.
go this far, but why that timeline? And then I'm going to say, are you ready? Are you in a place where you're ready to get help, get support, so that you can achieve XYZ results within that time frame, right?
Mhm.
And then you can
Mm,
even ask questions like, okay, provided that you did get support, what result would you love to see within the first 90 days that would have you stoked and excited, like super happy that you decided to get support from someone, right? Because it's always like people nobody wants to buy something and see results in 5 years.
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you really want to sell the first 30, 60, 90-day win. That's what really people are buying at the end of the day with most programs and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they'll be like, cool, if I buy your thing next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, yeah, it'll put them on the right path, but nobody really cares about that.
Mhm.
Like, they should, but they just don't. People want results and want it now. That's why Amazon is so successful, because they got Prime. I can
Yeah.
order my thing and I can get it tomorrow, or I can get it today. And that's why people are sometimes willing to order off Prime than drive an hour to the store if it's in stock. You know, it's like, well, you know, it can be convenient.
Yeah.
It can just come quickly, right? That's why people don't order on Wish anymore. They kind of went down because it takes 3 months, you know?
Mm.
So that's how I would kind of treat the goals section, get the timeline, get urgency, figure that stuff out. But yeah, that's how I'd go about it.
That's
Yeah,
normally
so
how I treat the goal process, right? But I guess when you ask the timeline question, do you ask that based off of their initial goals or after like the bigger vision? Like, what are you basing it off of?
You could base it off of either or both,
Okay.
I would say. Say, okay, in that first goal you said of this, what timeline would you like to see that in? Well, this, okay. Why is that? Cool. And that bigger timeline, because like the closer one's always better.
Yeah.
If I were to pick one, I would say the closer one, because like a lot of times that bigger goal is just people, they throw it out there and it's not something that it's rare that people have like really thought and planned it out. Like, in 10 years, I want to achieve this and this is how I'm going to do it. It's very, very rare that, like, it's usually someone's going to say some big goal that they're not even, they don't even think it's possible. They're just saying it because why not? Like, yeah, I want to make 10K with Airbnb. Okay, what's after that? Oh, then I would go to like 40K, 50K. That's probably the answer you're going to get. And then they're going to be like, I don't know. You tell me, well, okay, how long would it take or whatever? Like, they don't actually, it's literally a number that they came up with on the spot
Yeah.
for the most part. So I'm really more interested in what is the 90-day goal and what is like the 1 year goal.
Okay.
Because people can get excited for what I can do in 90 days, 6 months, and 1 year.
Mhm.
People are excited for that. People aren't usually, especially because most of these programs are yearly access anyway, right?
Yeah.
So if you tell someone, yeah, in 5 years you'll get here, but we're not going to support you anymore after 1 year, then they're just going to be like, well, what if I need help after 1 year? Oh, I have to pay more. Oh, okay. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would much rather, get them to talk about the long-term goal, but I would much rather get them super excited and say, hey, as long as I could do this within 90 days, or if I could do this within within 6 months, if I could do this within 90 days to 6 months, that is worth the entire investment that I gave. Yeah, whether I get the 5-10 year goal, whatever. But if you can get me this in 90 days or 6 months, that is worth the 5 or the 10 or the 20K that I paid.
Yeah.
Even if I get nothing else from you after that. That's where I want them to, because that's what we can sell on. It's going to be so hard to sell someone on their 10-year vision, And one thing I noticed was actually going through application forms, because, we would ask people their goals on application forms. People with big goals usually closed more. It was like so it was like helping coaches scale. And it was said, like, what's the income now in your coaching business and what's the goal income? Regardless of where they were now, whether they were making a lot of money or whether they were like starting from scratch, I think it was like people that's goal was like 30K or more a month closed at like 70%. People that's goal was less than 10K closed at like 20%. And it was like the higher their goal was, the more they closed, the higher rate that they closed at. So, and this is more for closers, part of what you can do is champion their goal on the call. Let them know if it's possible without without being fake. And we don't have time to go into all like how to champion goals and all that. That's probably something we'll cover on another call. But that's another piece to it, is a lot of people are getting on these calls because they don't even know what is possible to achieve. Right? So hopefully that helps, Gassy.
Yeah, it does.
For your probing and for your problem section there. But those are some things I would add to that setting call. And just make sure that when you're offering the next step, the value is in the next call, not in joining the program. The value needs to be in clarity. The value needs to be in getting support, getting like knowing what the best next step is, knowing if this is something they should do. Like this is a call to get on with an advisor and know that if this is something they should do, if they get clarity on what to do, the value is all in that call. Like in sales, we always just want to sell the next step, one step at a time, right? Everything is about the next step. It's not about like when you try to jump too far, people get nervous, people, run
Yeah.
off, right? So focus on the very, very next step.
Yeah, that's what I do with the pitch now. It changes to like
Cool.
focusing on the next call and upping like the closer.
Sweet.
Mhm.
Awesome. Any questions before we end the call, guys? Any last questions?
I just want to summarize the goal section. So pretty much is a good way to go about it is to let them decide. I mean, basically let them decide where they want to take it. And would it be to kind of identify what would be driving them to do so and spend more time in that section? You can cover everything else, but spend more time in what they feel like is driving them toward their goal, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm gonna get both because this only really applies to monetary offers, right? Like your offer, this won't apply because you're not helping them
Yeah.
make more money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Just curious.
So
Yeah.
your focus is really going to be, what would you like to see happen and get them to kind of paint the picture for you. But if I am selling a monetary offer, it's like people don't just want money. They want to make money so that they could live a certain way. Because if everyone just wanted to make a lot of money, there'd be lots of guys would be working on oil rigs where they get paid 160K a year but their life would suck. There's a reason why people don't just do that and they do other things, So I would, say, hey, so what is the goal? What would you like to achieve? Sometimes I'll just say, what would you like to achieve in 90 days? What would you like to achieve with this? Right. And then they're going to, again, one of two answers. They're either going to say lifestyle, they're going to say financial. If it's financial, why that number? What is that? What is achieving that number actually do for you? Right. If I was a B2B offer, why that number? Where would you allocate the funds? How did that impact the business? You're just using more business jargon. It's the same questions. B2C offer, well, the other way, right? If they give me a lifestyle thing, I just want to, if I could just quit my job, if I could just this, I could just that. Okay. What would you need to earn? How much money would you need to make? What would you need to earn in order to quit your job comfortably, in order to whatever comfortably? I want to spend more time with my family. What would you need to earn in order to be able to spend time with your family comfortably? And then they're going to say, well, I would need probably like 8K a month, 10K a month. Okay, why that number? Well, because that's what I'm earning now. Well, that's a little bit more than I'm earning now. Give me comfortability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the reason why I do it this way is because I used to just say, so how much money do you want to be able to make? What's the financial goal? And some people would literally just be like, well, it's not about the money, man. It's more about the this and the that. And it's like, well, in order to have that, you need money. So it is money, right? So to just avoid all of that, doing it that way, it gets, nobody has ever responded badly to, so what do you need to earn in order to make that comfortable? I've always gotten a super honest answer. But when I just say, how much money do you want to make? They're like, well, I don't know. It's not about money for me. It's about being able to do this. It's about being able to do that. It's about being able to give back. Like money is not a thing for me. I'm like, okay, no, I get that, but what would actually, like, you obviously have a financial goal in order to do it. Like, what would the financial goal be? They're like, I don't have a financial goal. It's really about the money. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like I've ran into that on calls. So when I switched it to this, like this isn't something I necessarily learned from anyone. This is something just from trial and error, where I'm like, okay, let me try asking it in this way. And even though it's the same question, you guys are probably just like, oh, what's the difference? There's no difference other than the fact that people just hear it differently and they answer and respond differently. Like it's always the way in which you ask questions determines how you get responses.
Well, you're tying it into that goal.
So much better.
You're tying it into that goal, right? You're saying how much do you need to earn to get that goal, so they can kind of see a clearer picture of it, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like it's a way to ask the question, making it like it's a very practical question to ask in that scenario, because it's like, okay, if you want to quit your job, if you want to spend more time with your family, if you want to work remotely, if you want to do this and do that, it's just the fact that, we need to earn money in order to do these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's got to be a number that you can give that would allow you to do those things. Because unfortunately, everything in life you need money to do for the most part, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, that's how it runs. Any other questions on that goal section there, Hayden?
No, I'm pretty cleared up on it. I was just curious.
Sweet. Well, we will end it there then. Everyone learned something from this call?
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I will see you guys later. And yeah, see you guys Wednesday and Friday. Have a good one.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.